Welcome to Scarves and Spikes.
Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is another episode of Scarves and Spikes here on our normal Wednesday show. The Atlanta United players are getting some rest. Sydney is in Austin. Tommy is
Tommy is wearing a clown mask. If you're listening,
so
if you're listening to the show, Tommy is wearing
Halloween
a clown
Eve.
mask.
Gotta have the subtitles there.
It's Halloween Eve.
It is Halloween Eve.
It is Halloween Eve.
Halloween Eve. If you're born today, that means you're what, a goblin?
Instead of goblin mask, you're wearing a clown mask. I'm sorry.
It's Killer Clowns from Outer Space. We've talked about this.
We've
You
had
need to
this
watch
discussion.
the movie.
We'll
Madison watched it.
I have not watched it yet. I'm so sorry. I was on vacation and
But what about Madison?
just didn't get around to it. My son texted me and said, "You're scaring him."
Sorry. My
He
bad.
needs to be scared a little bit.
Yeah.
So we got lots to talk about. We have playoffs. We have Atlanta versus Miami. We have Jake Zivin joining us here in a little bit to discuss the aforementioned playoffs. And we have news to talk about. But what's going on, y'all? We're all spread out this week. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. No, like he said, I'm in Austin when we're doing the show. Tommy, of course, is in Ohio. You're in Georgia holding down the fort at home. I don't have my regular mic with me. I'm talking through my AirPod mics and headphones, so the audio sounds a little bit wonky. That's why. But Friday, of course, was a letdown. You lose Lennon to injury. You lose Gregerson to injury. It looks like Gregerson could be a little bit further along than Lennon. We'll, of course, see what the ultimate injury report looks like in a couple days here, right before the match. But you're at home. It's going to be 70,000. Big question is, how many of them are going to be Messi supporters? How many of them are going to be Atlanta United supporters? So I think that's a big question. And big thing for Atlanta United is, how did they come out? How did they handle the crowd? I mean, this is potentially the last match. This is the last match we'll see Atlanta United in 2024, period, regardless of what happens because of seeding. But how does that motivate them? How does that get them hopefully over the line to force a Game 3 in Fort Lauderdale? And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit with Jake later on. But, just win and get to Game 3, get it back to Fort Lauderdale. Whether or not you have Leonard, whether or not you have Gregerson, it's next man up. And hopefully the team is up for it. And it's going to be a lot of eyes on it, just like on Friday. Give me a lot of eyes on it. Maybe not as much as Friday, but still. Definitely going to be a lot of people watching and monitoring this. Maybe more for Miami, but.
Indeed. Tommy?
How
are you?
I said there was going to be. I'm doing great. I was going to say, like, the stress. I said there was no stress going into this game, right? Because you're playing with house money. And then you go down like a minute in. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, it happened. It's going to happen. And then it's like, we tied it. Oh, we almost just scored the go-ahead goal in stoppage in the first half. Now the stress is back, right? Now, because I'm not expecting it to be this close. And, getting that close at the end of the game and having your opportunities, it was like, okay, I'm real sad we lost it.
Yeah.
Since then, I've kind of calmed back down. I'm like, all right, there's no stress on this game. But going into I mean, this team doesn't have a lot of depth, right? We've known that for a while now, and you saw it. And I think I think the comment I made when we were doing the like predictions the week
Yeah.
before, whatever, it was like, or when we found out, yeah, the week before, it was like
Yep.
we don't have a lot of depth on the left and right back. So long as everyone's there, and then you find out Ronald Hernandez is out, and then it's like, okay, well, we're good as long as there's no injuries. And then Brooks Lennon goes down with something that seemed just like the battered
Shoulder.
herons messaged me like that, and they're like, "Oh, get this guy up. He's faking it," because it wasn't the shoulder that he landed on. So I think a lot of people were like, the dude took a dive and he's resting, and then you could see he wasn't moving it, and
Right.
like I at least want to go out with a healthy team, right? A full team against a full team, and
Yeah.
being so many injuries in that game, I think there's two major ones for sure, one on each side, and then you've got a minor one with Gregerson. But again, it's a week here, and it's depressing that there's a chance that you might not see both of them in here. And Ronald, I hope you take in whatever you have, the cough medicine, the flu, whatever you had.
Pepto-Bismol.
I hope
Yeah.
you don't get what everyone else is getting. Everyone's getting pneumonia. Like, don't get that. Just be healthy, because they're going to need him 100% in that game. And again, I'm not nervous, but as soon as it starts, as soon as you see that crowd, right, you're opening up the stadium. And shout out to Atlanta United. I think $40 seats were for the top level. I think that's what I saw online.
Right.
Bravo. Because I complained about this last year, so I have to be consistent. Last year they opened up the entire top and charged $100. Right, it was like $110 or whatever it was up there. $40 is fantastic. I
Good
think that's
value.
great. Get people in there. Create that atmosphere. Create that picture. Like Atlanta United just posted that picture, I think like an hour ago of the conference finals with the whole stadium tifo. Like that's what they want. They want, and MLS wants that too, to be able to highlight how cool this stadium is, right? And how
Yeah.
you can get 70,000 fans into the stadium. That's super cool. And also shout out to Arthur Blank for donating so many tickets. That was awesome of what he did there. I saw a lot of people. Matt, perfect. Didn't even see that. I mean, that was absolutely awesome of him. I mean, Arthur's a great guy. If there's one person I will never trash, is Arthur, except when he didn't fire the Falcons coach fast enough.
So
That's the thing, right?
Sorry, real quick. Let's talk about though. I see Grace comment. So going back to Gregerson's injury, he stated that according to the team. So you have a decision to make, and Grace said, does Abram or Cobb get the start alongside Williams? So I think there's pros and cons to both scenarios. Look at Abram. Abram is obviously the more experienced player than Cobb. That being said, he hasn't played outside of injury, outside of maybe some spot duty, and that's something the three of us have talked about all the time.
Neither of them have, though.
Yeah, but the thing with Abram though is he's a more seasoned professional, for better or for worse. Now, he plays for the national team. He gets started for the national team, but he's really not in the plans of Atlanta United, it seems like. So that's a pro. That's a con against him. But again, the pro is he has more seasoned experience. Cobb, you wonder, is the moment too big for him? He's given a good account of himself and the limited action that he's seen, relatively limited action that he's seen in 2024. But now you're going up against the best team in MLS as far as statistics, as far as points are concerned. Supporter Shield, runaway favorite in MLS Cup playoffs. Is the moment too big for him? Does Rob Valentino take that into account? When he sets up this lineup, but that's a massively important thing we have to talk about. Whether or not Gregerson is healthy, what does that decision look like?
So go ahead. Finish the thought.
No, I was gonna say, I think to me, and I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. To me, you start Louis Abram just because of his experience. Cobb, he's your future at center back, right? But again, I just don't know if the moment is right for him, a player of his relative youth, to play. And nothing against him, but that's just or you already know. Hopefully Gregerson's okay, so we don't have to have the conversation. But if he's limited, if he can't play, he can't start, I think Abram should get the start over him.
So let's talk about the way that this match gets played out in terms of formations, right? Because we can talk about the injuries in a minute, but at the end of the day, do you go into this one with a back four like you did, or do you go to back three, or back five, whatever you want to call it, because you found success against Miami doing that this year? Obviously, if you do the back three, one of those guys is going to have to be Noah Cobb. But this past match, I thought Noah, he got thrown into the fire. It's not easy coming in cold like that, like he did, being a young guy, right? Not as experienced, but he came in and he handled himself. Even if it was just sheer athleticism, which it wasn't, his IQ was there. He made the right moves. He his positioning, I thought was really good. He gave a good account of himself.
Yeah.
So do you take that chance, or do you go with the back four for two reasons? Because one, you don't have that many subs if something else does happen, but two, you've had success.
Yeah,
But
I don't disagree. Getting some of these players experience does help, right? I've said this before. Like there's when you're a young team or you have young players, getting them experience in these playoffs can be important for growth, even if it's just a game, right? Just one game, going in there playing the best team ever in front of 70,000 people. It can help you, right? Be ready for that moment the next time it happens. And hopefully next season, we're not talking about being the 8th seed. We're talking about having 2 playoff games at home in the first round, right? And depending on what you decide to do with LeBron, because you do have, you've got some young players that can be the backups, right? With Cobb Morales, I don't know. It depends on what you look here. It also can be devastating to you if you allow 6 goals, right?
yeah.
And that can be hurtful. Wasn't it Cobb? Was Cobb the one that was starting when
Yes,
Benteke scored the hat trick?
Oh, yeah.
And then last year,
So
Columbus.
I guess with that said, it's at a risk you're willing to take. Again, nothing against Noah, but are you going to risk that, roll that dice if you rob Valentina, though?
He's done it before. He's done some crazy. Rob's done some crazy stuff over the
This is
time,
a different
and done
match,
some
though,
changes.
isn't it?
I don't know. The guy needs to be creative. He's been creative. He's done some different things. He put Brooks up there, and I think he would have done it again if Ronald was healthy in that game. He had to make some changes and for game 1 there. I don't know. I do think he goes with the experience here with Abram, just because of what you're facing and what Brad Guzan had to deal with last game, right? Like Brad was just something else in there, and unfortunately, you need as much help as you can to make sure that Brad's back works after that game, because nobody can blame him for being sore after that, and playing in Miami, taking shots, and having to worry about everyone out there.
He's your best defender. He's your best defender, isn't he?
He's been most of the season, yeah.
Yeah, and you want to limit the chances, obviously, that, like you're just saying, you want to limit the chances that he's facing, because as his body's not young, but with all the action that he's gotten over the past few matches, playoffs leading up to the latter stages of the season, how much does his body hold up? And are we going to hit an inflection point where his body just not completely shuts down, but he just hits a wall? No pun intended. But just if he hits the wall, what happens then? Because I would love to see Brad Guzan continue to play the way he is, but to be realistic and not to throw cold water over the situation, he is 40 years old. He's not 30. He's no Celentano. He's no Schulte. Certainly, those are youthful goalkeepers, and that's something that he doesn't have on his side. So his
He's
fitness
been fine.
No, I'm not saying
he hasn't shown any signs of it, though.
One game's
of
not going to kill him.
I know, but I'm just saying, if
that one almost did.
No, I'm saying if it gets to game 3, what does that look like? Again, nothing against him, but just from a fitness standpoint, what does that look like for him? So you hope that he's in top form. I have no reason to believe he won't be in top form in game 2, but again, he's been your best defender, and you need that maximum effort from him again.
Brad Guzan is the least of my worries going into this match because he's been consistent, right? I mean, no keeper has been perfect this year. Brad, he's had a couple mistakes, but I mean, if it weren't for Brad Guzan, this team wouldn't even be in the playoffs right now. So
Not even close.
not even
He's
kind of.
recovered, yeah.
So I mean, I think there's a lot of chess moves and things that you got to look at, but I mean, Brad can go one more. Brad can go 5 more, depending on the way the playoffs go. I mean, I'm not too concerned
Hopefully
about it at all. Hopefully it's 5, or
Yeah.
I think that's the number. But whatever. Jason saying he was watching on X, had to come here, say he believes Noah should get the start over Abram. I mean, there's definitely an argument to be had.
That'll be the debate all weekend, like leading up to the match. Cowboy or Brahm. Of course, again, hopefully Gregerson is okay. But with that in mind, though, does he play? Do you risk playing him when he's not 100%? I think that's another layer that you have to talk about. So I would certainly put the chances, kind of think about it. It's a coin flip at this time. I think maybe leaning more toward no, just because you want to save him just in case there is a game 3. Don't want to risk any further damage to that hamstring or that leg that's been giving him issues the entire match or the entire season, most of the season, I should say. So my guess is leaning toward no, but I think you do start Abram, and interested to see how this debate plays out, in the days leading up to the match.
I think also the thing to take into consideration, and this is I absolutely taking nothing against Noah, but Derek, the more experienced center back out of all of them, he can be that right-sided center back. He's had the experience, both feet. Luis Abram, left-footed, so you can take Derek, put him on the right, make Luis that left-footed center back, left back.
Yeah.
So the positioning kind of lends it more to Abram.
Yeah.
But you've seen Noah go out there and handle business either way. So, and as far as Steon's concerned, I mean, this is one of those games where, and the point in the season where if the physios say he can do it for X amount of time, then they have to be okay with putting him in and saying, hey, give us that amount of time if you can do it. If something goes bad, fine, we will take you out immediately. But worst case scenario, you lose and you have 3 months to recover.
Yeah.
It's just if you've got it in you and he's got it in him to say like, hey, I'm good, you got to try it.
See, I see what you're saying, but again, I'm just worried if he gets to game 3, he's not going to be 100%, and you'll have lost.
Can't play that way.
Yeah, but again,
there's no game 3 if you don't play game 2. If you don't win game 2, there's no game 3. I said it 2 different ways. Like,
I know
if he can do it,
no player is going to be like, no, I'm not going to play this game. This
right, no.
do or die game, because
you see what I'm saying, though.
I mean, absolutely. I just think in the middle of the season, or even coming up on the end, anytime in the season, you absolutely have to be very, very cautious with injuries. And I'm not saying don't be cautious here, but if the physios give you any kind of inclination that he can go for any amount of time, he's got to go. Because the one thing that Atlanta has had that's been somewhat consistent this year has been their center back core in terms of like what you get out of them. Have they given up goals? Yes. Have they kept clean sheets? Yes. But they've been kind of steadfast throughout the entire season, where your attack has been up and down, midfield's been up and down. That defensive line has been kind of what saved you ultimately. So if you can get your best guys out there, most experienced guys out there, you have to do it. Make the game 3 happen.
Yeah. And again, I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's just kind of in the back of my mind. If something does happen to him, going into game 3. But again, we'll hear from the team as far as his status. Lynn and I more concerned about him missing time. But we'll see what happens to Stian if he can give it a go, and if he does, hopefully he is able to help Atlanta United get it to a third undecided game before Lauderdale.
Just get Lennon healthy by February at this point.
I mean,
exactly.
If
you end up winning and somehow you can do it, you don't want to push that there and possibly injure it more. Whether we've had the talks about trading him at some point, because he's going to need a new contract eventually here. He's going to want to raise. Do you want to do that? Do you want to move on from him? Get the guy healthy no matter what. It's cool that we're here right now, but ultimately he's the guy right now for next season. And Brooks Lennon has struggled this year for sure, but he also hasn't had a world-class striker to finish off a lot of these great things, passes that he's getting into the box. And we all hated on Brooks Lennon before Giakoumakis came in, and then all of a sudden Brooks Lennon got good again, right? Because all the passes were going in from the person he was passing to. So the goal here obviously is to get a new striker here in the offseason, right? A DP striker. So get the guy healthy. He's going to be a huge part of your success, most likely next season. Get healthy, Brooks. Don't push it. Don't get hurt more, and be fine for February.
I'm under no illusion that he'll be ready for game 2. So yeah, just leave it as is. Start where you need to start in that position.
You have Ronald Hernandez as well, who again we think will be good to go. I don't see why he wouldn't be. Yeah. Ronald Hernandez has been the guy, I think, defensively that's given you a little bit more. We all know what Brooks can do, getting high up the pitch. Brooks, unfortunately, has had a few mistakes throughout the year in terms of defensive. I mean, at the end of the season, he's had a string of games where at least one time he got cooked on that right side.
Caused silly yellows.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, you just defensively, Ronald Hernandez is a more traditional right back. And playing a team like Miami, you need everything defensive that you can get. You got to put it out on the field. So,
limiting those chances. That's what it's all about. Limiting the damage that Messi and Suarez and everybody else, or Alba from distance, can do these. So that's what it's all about. Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of jump over. Well, one more thing about injuries. Edwin Mosquera, 4 to 6 weeks, meniscus, just in time for him to get back for MLS Cup. So they timed it perfectly, got it all set up properly. He'll be back, super sub in MLS Cup to win the game.
And real quick, too, on Miami, Ian Frey, of course, suffering the injury. I think it's his meniscus that he tore into. Fortunately, it's not an ACL again, but it's just tough to see that kid go through it again. He's a young player with plenty of promise for Inter Miami. Just hasn't been able to stay healthy. So the prognosis isn't as bad as we thought it'd be when we saw the injury. And I'm sure we'll talk to Jake about it here in a few minutes. But good that it's not as serious as once feared. And hopefully he's able to come back again. He's a player that Inter Miami really like and really have big plans for. Again, his health has been a major issue. So thoughts to him. Hopefully he recovers and hopefully he's able to give it a go once more in 2024 or 2025, I should say.
He thought it was done.
Yeah.
And I think everybody thought it was done.
You were there.
I was there. Yeah. I mean, waiting to go into the locker room, and he came out, with his knee iced up, had the crutches, went to his family. He was absolutely like bawling, and then not to put his business out there. Like, I think it's been reported already. I didn't want to be the one to report that. So waited until it showed up. But I mean, I think in a lot of ways, you're going through emotions, you're going through pain. One, I think, and sometimes you kind of feel a little bit of embarrassment, right? Because you feel like, God, this happens in front of all these people. It's in the playoffs. My teammates, like, you just got to think of what this young guy's going through. But his teammates were there for him. It was cool to see. Julian Gressel came out and hugged him. His family was there for him. Super cool to see all the support, fans, obviously. So yeah, I'm glad it wasn't an ACL, but everybody thought it was the ACL.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
non-contact, just kind of dropped to the floor. You're like, oh man.
That's a shame. That's a shame. But again, good to see that the prognosis is a little more promising than we once feared. So
let's see.
we want to talk about Miranchuk, by the way, before Jake comes up.
Yeah, we'll jump to Miranchuk. I wanted to throw this out there.
Why
real
was he
quick.
taken out at half? Did we get an explanation of that?
Who?
Miranchuk.
Oh, Miranchuk.
Rest.
Yeah, I think it was just
You don't rest him. You don't rest him. I mean, what you just said, Sydney, about the last thing about whether you're playing a guy to look for game 2 or 3, like he's your only DP, he's your only designated player, and you take him off at half.
I don't think
I didn't get that at all.
I'm not mad at it. Because I just didn't think he was that effective in that match. I thought he was just getting shut down. I don't think he was kind of having the effect and the momentum that he wanted to.
I would love to hear what happened. We won't hear from Rob Valentino until Thursday. I'd love to hear what happened. I don't know, Tyler, if he mentioned it on Friday, what the situation was.
He kind of talked about, just rest. He didn't mention Miranchuk specifically, but resting everybody. I mean, everybody was done. And I did ask him about the subs, all of them, kind of as a collective. And he said, the first 2 subs, the injury subs, Stian and Lennon, kind of threw a wrench in things. But then looking at it too, strategy wise, you only have one more window if you don't make that sub. And if he needed to come out for any reason, or if it was about rest or whatever, the first 2 subs kind of threw a wrench in the entire plan. So I think we're on 6 days, with 3 games. We have tired legs and we have to go do something. Let me just try to get some fresh legs in there and see what they can do and change it up.
Hopefully it's all it is.
Yeah.
But Tommy, I definitely see what you're saying, with him being your only DP out there with Stian gone. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. Why does he come out? I wish there were a little more explanation besides rest. I get it's rest, but at the same time, you're looking to take a 1-0 series lead. So you like to think you're a better team with him on the field. So hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully he's at full strength on Saturday and ready to go for Atlanta United, because you'll definitely need him. Hopefully he has a game that really we haven't seen from him all season long, right? He's had some flashes here and there. I don't know if it's just the adjustment period just being a little bit steeper for him than other players, but he's shown flashes. He's not had a preseason with the team, so maybe that will help him out in 2025. But yeah, I'd love to see him take a real hold of game 2 and really show the kind of player that he was projected to be with Atlanta United. He had a really nice pass to TRA that should have been 2-1, and TRA just fluffed his lines big time. But great saying too about the substitutions, Fortune and Miranchuk. Fortune coming out for Sylvain Muyumba. Muyumba, who hasn't played in a while, Silva hasn't played in a while, so maybe it's just rest. Maybe you're trying to keep players rotated going into Saturday. Are you, Tommy, as upset about the Fortune substitution as you're about the Miranchuk substitution? Or are you okay with seeing Silva out there?
You had the momentum going into half, right? All the momentum was on you, and you need to start creating some chances. And if you're taking, I know it's a different position, but you had to start giving some opportunities. And Silva almost scored, right? Silva had a great opportunity there. You had to do everything you can to get some offense. So I mean, if you're taking him off, I guess I understand the Silva there. I thought he'd come in a little bit later, to be honest with you, but now that we know that he's likely healthy, right? I mean, you hope so, and he looked fine. I think he starts. I think he starts on Saturday.
You think Silva starts on Saturday?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's depending on his health, I'm sure. But yeah, of course, he's been carrying that foot issue. So hopefully he's healthful enough and ready to go if you do need him. If you do need him,
You know,
You need him. You need him. It's the best offense in the league, and you need to be able to keep up here. And you just had issues, scoring a lot of the season. And look, Silva last year came in, and he was one of the hottest players for Atlanta United, right? That transfer window, he came in, and we thought he was a superstar early on. Scored a nice goal against Miami last year, and then, yeah, he disappeared on occasion, but he's disappeared most of the season, most of it because of injury. If there's a time to all of a sudden get a wild card in the series and try to steal this one, I hate saying steal this one when it's at home, but you're stealing this one if you win this game. It's Miami.
yeah,
He's gonna be the reason that you do it, is because you're gonna need some goals, and I think that Silva has goals in him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully he does. You hope he does.
So I think the last thing I'll say before we get Jake on, it was kind of, again, it goes back to the forced substitutions. I don't know that bringing on Muyumba and Silva that at the same time was part of the plan, because admittedly they've been two guys that haven't had the best season, right?
Yeah.
Especially like Tommy, like you just said, coming off of the summer window and the end of the season last year. And then Muyumba makes the same exact foul that he committed against Messi in a prior match. And it's like, dude, what are we doing? And then Messi, what does he do? He comes that close to banging in a free kick. But I think a lot of this was just out of necessity. I mean, again, your third match in, 6-7 days, and you've flown from Florida to Canada and back to Florida again. And he's
Like
doing
Johnny
what he can.
Cash.
It's tough, man. So that's the situation they were in. They needed this break. They needed the rest. And I agree, though. I think Fortune has been having a great set of games. He's won that spot, and he deserves it. So you're just kind of in that situation where he's kind of booted Muyumba out of the number 8, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not mad at it. Hey, give the competition. And then like Shonday comes in and he almost, puts the equalizer in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Got to win those positions back. So it'll be really curious to kind of see how Rob approaches this one, because you've got 70,000 behind you. You've got rest, most importantly.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So
Like it seems like Johnny Cash has been everywhere. Montreal, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando.
all over the place. So with that being said, y'all have heard enough of our opinions, at least for the next 30 minutes or so. So we will now bring in good friend of the show, Jake Zivin. What's up, buddy?
Hey guys, doing great. How are you? How's Atlanta?
Welcome back.
We're
Thank
here.
you. Great to be back. Excited to get to Atlanta for this weekend. Flight on Friday.
How's your voice recovered? Are you
Yeah,
in?
doing all right. Hey, like a week between games. I mean, we had a run, right?
Yeah.
First of all, in the summer, it's crazy with Leagues Cup and All-Star and everything. And even in September, where we were doing a game every 3 or 4 days. So this feels like a luxury to only have to do one game a week. Plenty of rest.
100%.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of starting off, we'll dive into Atlanta more in a minute, but playoffs are kind of in full swing now. What have your kind of thoughts and opinions so far been?
Yeah, it got really interesting last night, right? With the first 2 worst seeds, right? Road teams to take game 1, and specifically the Red Bulls beating the Columbus Crew. I mean, to me, that is by far the most interesting result of the game 1s of round 1. I still think the Crew are, I think they are the reigning champs, right? But I still feel like the MLS Cup goes through them, right? I know Miami are the record holders and everything, but I always feel like you've got to beat the champ, right? Or at least get past them. And until they go down, there's still something about the Crew, not only MLS Cup, but also Leagues Cup, where there's a good argument to be had that they are the favorites for this MLS Cup. But now up against it to even get to the conference semifinals, that was surprising. And not just because of the result, but even the way it happened, I mean, the Red Bulls defended the Crew very well. They didn't have a ton of chances. Yes, they had close to 80% of the ball. It was 80% early in the game. I think it ended up like over 70.
78 to 22. I only remember that off the top of my head.
78 to 22. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's not like the Red Bulls needed a performance like Atlanta got from Brad Gazan out of Carlos Coronel, right? Like the expected goals from Columbus, I think was 1.2. Not great when you have the ball for 78% of the time. The Red Bulls did a really good job to stop the Crew from creating super threatening moments. It should have been 2-0. Lewis Morgan should have scored on that breakaway. And it should have been even less stressful at the end for the Red Bulls. So now game 2 back in New Jersey, the Crew are under pressure. They've been great under pressure. But that's really interesting to me. So that's the standout result of the game 1s and now on to game 2, right? And who can bounce back and who can force a game 3.
Yeah, and looking at the other playoff matches, more or less it's been pretty straightforward. LA just ravaged Colorado.
Yeah, that's the one blowout, right?
Yeah.
And so that also stands out because all the other games were pretty tight, at least on a scoreline perspective. Not Galaxy Colorado. Man, the Galaxy seem motivated. I know Colorado's been struggling and they have injury issues, but the Galaxy seem a bit upset about how decision day went, how they gave up the number 1 seed, and it was on them. They lost that game. But man, did they bounce back in a big way against Colorado.
Yeah, definitely. And one series that's been intriguing to me personally, Houston-Seattle, 2 really good defensive sides. Played out really what a lot of people expected, 0-0. Seattle wins in penalties. So what's kind of your gut check on that series?
How good were Seattle's penalties, by the way? I was saying this earlier. I think Christian Roldan's penalty is the best penalty I've ever seen. And like that seems like hyperbole, but I don't know how you can hit a penalty any better. He hit that as hard as he could directly into the corner. Like small margin of error. If that misses, that's in downtown Seattle. Like that's out of the stadium. Just literally no goalkeeper. A robot goalkeeper can't save that. Incredible penalty from Roldan. Look, Brian Schmetzer said it after the game. It's the playoffs. It's a win. That's all that matters. It wasn't the prettiest. I'm sure Seattle would have liked, again, more chances at home, but whatever. They don't care. They're going to Seattle, with a 1 game, or they're going to Houston now with a 1 game lead. But that series, I think, has game 3 written all over it.
So going back to the Crew real quick, of course, taking the loss at home at lore.com, the series goes to Red Bull Arena. Red Bulls, I'm sure, are pretty confident, very confident after getting a win on the road. Now they have to do the same at home. What needs to happen in that match? Do the Crew just need to say, hey, we're here for a reason? And is it something along those lines, or do the Red Bulls, can they pull off a shock? I mean, it's at home, all of that. There's a chance that, what happens to the end of the postseason happens again, but you have to be really, really confident heading into the second match, especially in New Jersey.
They can pull it off for sure. I mean, Sandro Schwartz had the game plan right, exactly right. Now, I don't think Columbus is panicking. Again, they are battle tested. They are as confident of a team as there's ever been in MLS, from roster spots 1 through 20, and interchangeable almost from roster spots 1 through 20. It feels like anybody can play any position other than maybe goalkeeper. Sean Zawatsky can't play goalkeeper. We saw that. But otherwise, they're so confident. They're going to go into this game and expect to do what they always do, right? Will Fernandes not going to change anything. The Crew aren't going to change anything. And they play the same way as home on the road. And I think they'll be okay. But I think the Red Bulls will also come in with a ton of confidence in the way that they defended against the Crew. And they'll probably have a similar game plan, even at home, right? And say, hey, if we can defend well, take our chances, whether it be in transition or on a set piece, we can pull this upset. I don't know if, I don't know if they can hold the Crew to that level of lack of chances for a second straight game. But they're going to try to, and I think they'll be confident that they can.
It's like DPs matter, right? Like I saw a record today, and I don't remember what the record was. Should save the tweet, but it was like without roasting the lineup. I mean, they're bad.
Yeah,
they're real bad. And it was the same with Nagbe. Like Nagbe didn't start here in Atlanta, and you see the stats. I think they showed it. Like when Nagbe doesn't start, the record's real bad for them. So I mean, you got those 3 DPs, and when they're on it, when they're in the lineup, you win.
The one thing about a lot of stats like that is a lot of times when Rossi or Nagbe aren't starting, there's full rotation, right? You know what I mean? Like, because both those guys have been available so frequently. We used to have I called Portland Timbers games for 10 years, and we'd have this without Diego Chara. They hadn't won in like 25 straight games. And that was more legit because it'd be injuries or yellow cards, right? So it was just take Diego out because Diego, right? He's suspended for like at least 2 or 3 games a year, minimum because of yellow card accumulation or red card, right? But like, it's just take Diego out. Everything else is pretty much the same. With Rossi and with Nagbe for the Crew, it is kind of more like, hey, we're rotating because we're in multiple competitions. So like everybody's rotated. That said, they're extremely important. I mean, I think the highest of Darlington Nagbe. He is, to me, the most, even with the praise he's been getting the past couple of years, the most underrated player in American soccer history. Like, that man could be dropped into any training session for any club, and there you go. Exactly. And you guys know, of course, everybody in Atlanta knows.
Oh, yeah.
Can get dropped into any training session in the world and not be out of place. And you talk to anybody, all of his teammates, his coaches from everywhere, from guys like Diego Valeri, Diego Chara, from guys like Liam Ridgewell, who played a decade in the Premier League, to Atlanta, and Tata and Joseph, and now everybody in Columbus. And they all say the same thing. He's the best player they've ever played with. He's an incredible player. So yeah, you take Darlington out, it's gonna be a big deal. But to your point, back to Diego Rossi, I think he is an unheralded member of that team. Cucho is the standout and the star. There's no doubt about it. But the Crew made a bold decision last summer to essentially say, we're gonna sell Lucas Elarayan. We will take the offer, and we're gonna replace him with Diego Rossi. And they're different players, and they play differently. In in Nancy's system, everybody is kind of so interchangeable. So maybe don't play differently in that system. But Rossi's skill sets maybe fitted better than Zelarayan, who's like a pure number 10 creator, right? And he's been great. And he started scoring, he started contributing a few months into this season, because last year the numbers weren't what you expect from a former Golden Boot winner. And even to begin this year, they weren't until they were in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and then they kind of picked up after that. Yeah. So yeah, he's super important. They need him back. But again, man, you'll watch the Crew sometimes when they've rotated, especially after Leagues Cup this year, and it's 10 new guys, and you're like, man, I think this team could finish top 4 in the East. Yeah. Like the backups, right? And they're so good, and it's the system and everything. So I don't think Rossi being gone is an excuse for them. And whether or not he's back on Saturday, I think or this weekend in game 2, they should expect to win, being the Columbus Crew.
Yeah. I can't bet against that team. Yeah. I can't even. And I do think if it comes to somehow, whether it's Columbus or Miami, I still think Columbus takes it.
Really? Yeah.
I do.
More
well-rounded.
Yeah. I don't know if I can say this on this show, but selfishly, I hope we get a rematch. And I'm sorry, that would mean Atlanta does not pull the biggest upset in MLS history. And look, we don't root for anything. So I hope we get drama. I hope we get 3 games in this series, because that's what we care about, right? We want good stories and exciting games and all of that. But holistically, if we got a rematch, because that game in the regular season was fantastic, particularly the one when Miami could clinch the Shield, and it felt like a final in Lower.com Field. Yeah. So it'd be great to get a rematch, either this year in the Eastern Conference Final or next year down the road, right? Like, these teams are going to be playing big games against each other going forward.
You're not offending anybody.
Yeah.
Because Atlanta is playing with house money at this point.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I would think that would be the perception. Yeah. I'm glad that you guys feel that way.
But there's a little bit of belief. There's a Ted Lasso thing going on, and it's like, hey, you did the job on decision day and then got really lucky. You did the job of Montreal. It wasn't pretty, but you did it. And then you gave Miami a fight after.
Is there a thought that game 1 was a missed opportunity because of how good Brad was? Now, look, it should have been 5-1, right? Yeah. But Brad was so good, kept Atlanta in the game, that is there like, man, we could have at least taken this to penalties.
We were
a slight missed opportunity.
So we were talking before you came on the case that TRA had essentially left his line.
Absolutely. Should be 2-1 if he scores. It should be 2-1 at halftime. Absolutely should be. And, he feels the contact and he goes down, and it was minimal for me. Taylor, we talked about it even after the game, minimal. Probably got to play through it. And Jande Silva, I mean, that was very close.
Yes.
He smacked that. Yeah. And Callner's got no chance.
And that whole stadium, because I was there. I was actually out in the stands covering the game. Yeah. In the Tribune. So I got the vibes, right? And then when that one left his foot, the whole stadium kind of had one of those kind of moments.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think to your question, I mean, even the players kind of said it. We talked to Brad. Brad kind of mentioned it. Of course, Rob kind of mentioned it. We talked to Pedro Amador as well. Yeah. They all kind of felt like kind of that in between where you're just disappointed, but you're not demoralized, like, and I think that's kind of how the fans feel. Like all the talk right on Twitter and everything else was they gave an effort considering everything else that Atlanta's had going on, the up and down and everything else this year. You can't feel too bad about it. You got a chance to go home and even it up now.
There's I think there's no doubt these past 2 weeks, right? Like it's not a team that gave up. And there's a lot of teams put in the spot that Atlanta was with 2 games to go in the season that give up is a harsh way of putting it, right? But that maybe would be like, all right, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, that's not been Atlanta, right? They have fought for it from really down the stretch, particularly the last 2 games, and then in Montreal and game 1 against Miami. Third game in 7 days, right? Like really difficult. They did not give up, and they are fighting, and they're giving it everything they can. And I think as a supporter, like that's all you can ask for from your team. And Atlanta's certainly given that. I think there's no doubt. And I'm sure they'll give it in game 2 again.
The way that no, go ahead.
What I'm going to ask you the most important question of the night.
Yeah.
Do you think TikTok regrets having a Messi cam when they could have had a Brad Guzan cam?
I would say they probably don't regret it. No. However, it would have been fascinating. The Brad Guzan. Our game highlights were basically the Brad Guzan cam. So all you had to do was watch the match highlights at the end of our game. Maybe. The Messi cam's cool, man. I love that. I'll say, like, I know there's probably some people that are cynical about it, but there was a documentary 20 years ago, or not quite 20 years ago, but of Zinedine Zidane, and it was like 15 cameras following him for 1 game, and it was just 90 minutes. Yeah. And it was surprisingly compelling because it does not sound like that would be interesting, but it was surprisingly compelling. So to watch a player of that level work their way through a game, and especially Messi, who walks right for most of the game, but like that's interesting, I think, because you're watching because he's walking, but he's always engaged, right? He's locked in, he's paying attention to everything, and he's the smartest person on the field. So I get if there is cynicism for it, but I love it. I think it was brilliant, and a lot of people watched it. So clearly, a lot of people agreed.
We're trying to get a Guzan cam on Vine. I think Vine still exists, right? We're trying.
Is that an age joke for Brad? Is that what that is? Or that's
I mean,
the 40-year-old's going to go on Vine? Yeah, I'm 39, so
yeah. Jerk Tommy.
Yeah, I know.
How dare you?
We're all. I mean, whatever. When I find out I'm older than Brad, like that always like weirds me out. But like we're at that age where it's like all those players were older than us, and now we're like. We're older than the players.
It is. That's kind of weird. And when you're twice the age of some players, you know what I mean? That's when it really gets wild.
Yeah.
My wife always goes, I could have birthed him. And I'm like, don't say that.
Don't say that.
Right. That's the thing. I look at some of these kids and I'm like, that kid technically could be my son. That's not cool,
Right.
Not cool. But so I guess this is kind of a good pivot. I wanted to ask you about one player in particular. I know Sydney and Tommy have their own, but considering Brooks, the injury, Stian injury, you had some wrenches get thrown into Rob's already very difficult game plan. But Noah Cobb came on. Yeah. What was your kind of overall opinion of Noah getting thrown into the fire like that?
I thought he was pretty good, right? For your point, to get thrown in a game like that, in those circumstances, I thought he played pretty well. And I think I remember a few times in the game thinking, all right, like he looks comfortable. He's taking initiative. He's being assertive. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm the world's best analyst of center back play, right? Like I'll leave that to, well, I don't know if Taylor is either as a striker. No, he is. But you know what I mean? Like I leave it to like the Danny Higginbothams, my great friend Ross Smith, right? The people who played that position, Taylor, the people who played the game. But I think to me, kind of like a goalkeeper in ways, not necessarily a goalkeeper, but like for a center back, if you're not noticing him, they're probably doing things right. You know what I mean? And especially with a young kid to come into the game like that, for us to not be talking about mistakes he's made or looking out of place, that to me is credit. Almost like if you go through the game, like, oh, I forgot that even happened, which wasn't the case. You know what I mean? Like, because Gregerson and Lennon's injuries are important storylines in that game.
Yeah.
But almost that thought of like, yeah, you didn't even really notice the change. I think that's helpful. And actually, when they went to 3 in the back, I think it helped Atlanta in a way, right?
I do too.
Because they were really up against it for 35 minutes. And I know that's not the way the switch, you don't want it to happen that way. But it ended up, I think kind of helping them maybe unintentionally.
And it's interesting. I've kind of been looking at that all week because you have the alternative would have been Ronald Hernandez would have just taken
but he was sick. Yeah.
He was sick.
Right.
So
Exactly.
you had to do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like Atlanta has played better with a 3-back system against Miami, and they've had success.
Yeah, so we talked to Rob Valentino about that before the game, and he basically said, he thought about it, of course, because they particularly when they beat him, they started with 3 in the back. Now they had Thiago starting, and he was great in that game. I thought they had Giacomakis to come off the bench. They had Caleb Wiley, so different. But Rob, no, that wasn't the reason. The reason was essentially like they've been playing well with this current structure, 4 in the back. They're on this good run, and he didn't want to break that up. And I get that, right? Like you don't want your team, I think you don't want your team to feel like we're overthinking things and now we're going to tweak. This is a team that's been on this, not quite miracle run, right? But this run,
It's a feel-good
low
run.
probability. Yeah. And they're feeling really good, and they're feeling good about themselves, and they're playing hard, and they're all bought in, and FEA and all that stuff. So just keep going, keep doing what you're doing. To me, that is the right move. I would think if I were a player, right? And again, I didn't play at that level, but we can all relate in some ways. And I would want to keep going. When you're a team that has so much belief in what you're doing, you want to just keep doing that again. So that made sense. Now game 2 will be interesting because now there's probably some belief that, okay, 3 in the back, that worked. So yeah, we'll see. And of course, look, availability is going to matter with Brooks and with Stian. And Ronald, though it was just sickness, it sounded like, so he should be fine. But that will of course play into it.
So Jake, I guess branching off of that and looking at the stats, like you said, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, Atlanta could have just been played off the pitch.
Oh, sure. If not for Brad, it would have been.
Yeah,
right?
no, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. But to that point, how does Atlanta limit the chances that Miami are sure to get?
Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody know? Can anybody do it? Right? I mean, this team scored 79 goals this year, which is what, the second most all time or third most all time. There were 98 LA Galaxy scored 85 goals. And then the incredible 2019 LAFC team also scored 85 goals, which I think is not given enough credit, because the 98, like that era of MLS was different. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it was just not, like the defense was not what it was. Like it was just different kind of game. For LAFC to do that in 2019, incredibly impressive. But Miami puts up 79 goals this year. So no, you can't stop them, right? You do. I would think you maybe don't want to give them as much of the ball because they're going to create all those chances. I thought they did a wonderful job. A very good job comparatively. The first 2 meetings with Miami in containing Miami, particularly Messi. I know he scored in the first game, but I think back to that game in September and Mercedes-Benz, and Messi comes on in the 60th minute, and Atlanta just seemed ready for it. And they look, Miami, it's pattern play, and it's not predictable, but it's kind of the same thing over and over again. Like when Jordy gets the ball on the left side and Messi is going to check to him, and Jordy's going to try to find him. Like it happens every time, right? And Atlanta seemed very ready for that, where some teams somehow still seem like taken by surprise and not quite ready for it. And they had multiple guys kind of ready for that cutback. which takes at least one thing out of their game. Now, of course, they'll beat you other ways, and the next time Jordy will send it into the box for Suarez, something like that. But I thought they defended Messi well in the 2 games. And look, this was more Brad, but he's played 210 minutes against Atlanta this year, and he has 1 goal, and even 1 goal, and 1 assist. Well, that's way under his average. He's over 2 goals contributions per 90 this year. So Atlanta's done well to keep him below 1, which is crazy to say, but it's the reality. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think maybe keep the ball a little bit more, right? Because you give them the ball. They're 22 shots, 11 shots on goal, only 2 goals. Like, Brad was heroic. You can't count on that again. 9 saves. That's probably too much.
Yeah, and maybe just that. You said maybe you favor possession a little more.
Yeah.
That you play to win, obviously, every single match. Is this a match where if you get it to penalties, perhaps you feel pretty much it's an even slate at that point, or do you just kind of go for it?
Oh, I think the 9 seed playing the greatest regular season team of all time would be happy to take it to penalties. Sure. Why not? Right. I think you could still try to win the game, but yeah, I think you'd you would take going to penalties if you're Atlanta, especially with Brad and the form he's in.
Yeah.
Miami's won some, of course, they won Leagues Cup in penalties last year. So they have experience. They advanced in the Open Cup semifinals in penalties last year. But yeah, I think if you're Atlanta, sure, why not? Yeah, take it to penalties. I would take that. I would assume everybody in Atlanta would take that, right? 70,000 in the building would take penalties.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it is. Nah,
Seattle,
the format's the format. The format, right? Like, that's the thing. And you can like it or dislike it, criticize it or not. But if you're the players, if you're the team, that's all you can play is what's in front of you and how it's set up. So winning in penalties, if you're Atlanta, is the exact same as winning in regulation on Saturday night. It does not matter because that's the format.
I don't think we have a problem with the format too much. We won't get into this whole rant again, but just rest.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, I get the my thing is this. Miami should be rewarded for having a great season. Atlanta should not be rewarded for not having a good season. I have no problem with it. 3 games in 7 days, is that a lot? Maybe. Could it have been 3 and 8? Sure. Is there a huge difference there? I don't know. But I'm glad. I think pushing this game until Tuesday would have been not fair to Miami. I think Miami, the 1 seeds, should have the advantage of playing the team on really short rest. I think they earned that because if that's kind of the only advantage other than, they have home field advantage, but so do 2, 3, and 4, right? And they get it throughout. So they should, I'm okay with them getting even an extra advantage. No problem.
Yeah, the West got 1 extra day in between. I think that was
right. LAFC, that was Sunday, right? That was Wednesday, Sunday. So Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, right? With Vancouver. Right. So they had 1 extra day before the wild card, and then they had another day. Sure, I get it. And look, I think I understand the reasoning for wanting to start the playoffs with Inter Miami by themselves. It's great for the league, and I just don't think when you finish 9th, you can have too many gripes about that. I mean, Miami, a team that is the oldest team in the league, also had 2 fewer days rest than LAFC. That was kind of a short week, Saturday to Friday. So.
Yeah, and I think it's a tough pill to swallow. Obviously, Atlanta fans look at Steon. That's kind of been the
I get it. Two injuries, and right. Brooks is a freak thing.
Yeah,
right. I mean, a separated shoulder. Maybe right. There's some wear and tear. I don't know, but probably not.
Last time Atlanta had a player separate their shoulder.
Yeah,
they then went on to win MLS Cup. I'm just saying.
Who was it?
Greg Garza.
All right, Greg Garza. Atlanta's a legend.
Classic.
Outside back as well.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there's some things
go on, Atlanta United. Place the bets right now.
Yeah.
I'll say, I know it's painful. My twin brother separated us aside on my bachelor party, not a raucous part of it. We were playing soccer. It was like 11 a.m., me and my buddies, and just like in a park. And my brother got bumped, went down, and we were just messing around. It wasn't, and he'd separate his shoulder. And it was the most pain I've ever seen anybody in.
Oh, no.
Like, it's like just like, and when Brooks, I was like, I know exactly what happened. And the way they're holding it, because little movements would just kill him. So we were all trying to like keep the shoulder from moving at all. As we're trying to get him to the ER and get him in the car and everything. So I knew, I could tell right away that's what happened. And it's painful. The good news is, right, like, I know, see what the doctors say, because it's, like, once they got it back in, my brother, the pain was pretty much gone.
Yeah.
But is he going to go play a professional soccer game 8 days later, like, and now bump into guys again?
Yeah.
That's a different story, right? Yeah. Even if you're without the pain. So how the structure is and everything, it'll be interesting. But yeah, with Stian's injury, I get it. That it's tough. It's tough.
And speaking
There's
of
always
injury,
bachelor party injuries. There's always a bachelor party injury.
Ours was,
Every
and
time.
it was a bachelor party in New Orleans.
Oh.
And the injury happened at 11 a.m., stone cold sober, playing soccer in the park, right? Like, that's, of course.
Why couldn't we have at least been drinking when this happened?
Right.
Right? Couldn't be on Bourbon Street or Freshman Street, better story that way, but no, it wasn't.
But it happened with soccer, right?
Yeah.
No, it did, 100%. That was part of the deal. It was like, we had it all scheduled out. We're going to do this. And this morning we're going to go. My buddy, lived across the street from a park, who was hosting us all. Anyway.
I will say this too. Speaking of injuries, Ian Frey, of course, that was tough to watch, and it's good that the prognosis isn't as serious as I think we all feared.
Oh man, it's got to be a relief,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you could look. He was in tears on the fields. He's covering his face with his jersey. This is a 22-year-old kid who's torn his ACL 3 years in a row. Like, I can't imagine what that's like, and to fight through it each time and to be like, no, I'm gonna still do it. I'm gonna still do it. And he comes back and he's playing really well, and he scores a goal 10 minutes after coming back against Columbus. And that, the elation of that moment to now in this playoff game to non-contact, and you could tell what he feared. I imagine there's a lot of relief from him that it's not an ACL. And I know meniscuses can be bad and difficult, and they can be painful and have difficult recoveries. But I imagine just it being different has got to be a relief for him, right? To be like, okay, it's not the same thing. But speaking of that, Diego Valeri, I was calling him in Spanish. We were riding back from the game, and he was like, in the car, he was like, I think it was a meniscus. He's like, I did both. I did my ACL, and then I came back to did my meniscus. And he's like, I think that was a meniscus, because I guess like the amount of pain he was in, right?
They hurt.
An ACL, they hurt more, right? Exactly. They hurt more is what Diego was saying. I don't know. I haven't had either. So he got it right, which is again, I imagine a bit of a relief for Ian.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. He was, I was telling him this earlier, but down there waiting to go into the Atlanta locker room, he walked by shortly after the final whistle.
Okay.
Ice was all over his knee. He had a crutch, and he went out to his family, and he was crying. Like you could tell he thought that's what it was. Yeah. So to hear the news the next day or whatever it was, I was like, well, that's good, because he doesn't deserve it, man. Like, say what you want, different teams, whatever, but I never want to see.
No.
Yeah,
come on. There's not like that. You can be competitive and you can talk smack and rivalries and all that's good, but no. You never want anybody to be hurt, particularly, like that, right?
Yeah.
No way. Yeah. It's gonna still be tough, right? Like, he still has a surgery ahead of him, and he still has rehab and recovery. But the prognosis is right. He could be back by the beginning of next season. Which is a big difference. Yeah.
Well, Jake, we appreciate you coming on again, man. I won't take up your whole evening, but we'll definitely see you in Atlanta Saturday. The days are throwing me off. But,
me too. Yeah. Every game is like, so I flew back on Saturday, right, from Miami. Yeah. I mean, literally, my year is every Friday I fly somewhere, and then every Sunday I fly back home. And so it completely threw me off that I was flying back home on a Saturday. Right. Like, I'm going through the airport and there's college football on and not the NFL. Yeah. This is what's going on. Like, this is not, I need to check my fantasy football team. I need to set it this morning.
Right.
No, I'm a day early. Yeah.
I freaking drove back to Orlando that night. And that was miserable. So glad you got an extra night to rest. Get on the night plane,
late game too. Yeah. Well, early. Yeah. Well, late game. Yeah. You probably got in late. Well, back to normal on Saturday, 7 p.m. start also, right? So slightly earlier. Yeah.
We'll be watching on MLS Season Pass.
Awesome.
You and Taylor.
We appreciate it, buddy. Tell Taylor we said howdy as well.
Will do.
And
Will do.
well, I'll see y'all there. I don't think Sydney's gonna be able to be there this time.
Yeah,
Definitely
unfortunately.
holla at you when the game comes around.
All right. Well, see you on Saturday, and take care.
All right, buddy.
Awesome.
Cheers,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
See you guys.
See you
Bye.
soon. Cheers.
Awesome.
Zivin.
Do you think
Good
Greg
stuff.
Gazan had a MySpace back then?
Yes, I think he did. I'm
He
almost
used to, like
certain
program the music to like play on it when you went to the site.
he's in there doing like basic HTML.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what
that's how you
is-
learned it.
Yeah.
That's what his
People
top
our age,
8
that's how you
was.
learned how to program. You're like, I'm a programmer. What'd you do? I created my MySpace page.
Yeah.
It plays the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance when you go onto the page.
Next
That
time we talk to him, we should ask what his top 8 was.
Was Tom on there?
Yeah.
Everyone had Tom. Everyone.
What
had
would
Yeah.
his song have been?
Ugh,
You go on
I
Brad
don't know.
Gazan's MySpace page. What song is playing?
like Enter the Sandman. I could see that be it for him.
Yeah, I can see that. No, Jake always great talking to.
Definitely.
And we're kind of at that part where there's only so much analysis that you can do, right? Like both at this point, both teams, they know what each other are. They know what they're going to get out of each other. And you just got to go and hope that your team, the 11 people that are on the pitch, play a better game of football than the other 11. It doesn't matter that, they have Messi. All that doesn't matter. I know Rob is probably going through sleepless nights trying to figure out what can I do here, but you just got to stick to your game plan that you've had, which is go out there, fight, don't give up. And like Jake said, have a little bit more possession because you can't survive on what you did last time.
No one's going to care about how you won on Saturday as long as you won. Like, they all come the same. Like a 5-0 win, 2-0, 1-0, penalties. It doesn't matter. Just win.
Some
Survive
are
in
cooler
advance,
than
right?
others, though.
It's that's I don't debate that at all. But no, I mean, just win. Because if you don't, you're not playing any more soccer for the rest of the year. And you talk about tangibles, but there are those intangibles, and that's in the back of this team's mind. Listen, we have to get this victory. This is our last match at home, regardless of the result in 2024. The next time we'll see these fans will be probably in March. So it's intangibles like that, the FEA attitude, the
What's that stand for,
we
Sydney?
doubt us, FML. Keep on doubting us, chip on their shoulder mentality. Those things go a long way with players. And again, it's those intangibles that can often, I mentioned this last time, can often push you past the finish line. Of course, there are tactics, of course, and what that looks like. But the team has to like its chances. Again, Tyler, like you said, they're not going to survive being outshot 20-8, 11-2 shots on goal like they did. They didn't survive on Friday, but they're definitely not going to survive on Saturday. And, Miami is going to want to make quick work of this match and end it pretty early, take the crowd out of it early. So that's going to be their main prerogative on Saturday.
One of the things I was talking to the Battered Herons about that'll be interesting to monitor when the lineups come out, who starts for Miami? Because they were kind of talking, the Miami guys were talking about maybe Campana starting.
For Suarez? No.
Mm-hmm. They know their team better than we do, so I would stick to what they say.
Did they say why?
I'm sorry.
Did they say why they think that would happen?
Turf. Now, Danny's an anti-turf man, and
dang it, Danny.
He created that no grass, no Messi shirt there. You get a break after that, but again, I don't know how seriously they're taking the series against Atlanta. If they go in there and they want to play Campana there to start, Campana's had success against Atlanta in the past. I don't know. I'd be interested to see how that, if that happens. Maybe you just try to finish them off early. Suarez scoring in the first couple minutes. They're hoping to just repeat that, and then obviously just keep bringing the pressure on.
Suarez played in the Benz. Did he start that game?
No,
I don't think so.
He got subbed
no,
on.
he can't. They both came. They both came on around the same time,
Okay.
late in that game.
I don't know. I don't see Tata going into this and taking any chances.
Tata understands what's up. Like, he more than anyone. So
I'm not saying. I mean, who knows? Because that is something. As much as we joke around, I mean, you're dealing with a guy that, you know, is having to get shots in his knees all the time, and then you're dealing with guys that are just older.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, they've had plenty of rest, but like, I mean, something to keep an eye on. I would be shocked if Luis Suarez didn't start that game. Now, if he gets subbed off early, maybe, you know, but I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll jump to predictions. Before we do, y'all go check out scarvesandspikes.com. Go head over there, get your news, get your updates, get your analysis, opinion, all that good stuff. Go to the shop, get y'all a mug, a hoodie, something. Weather's getting cold, so go check it out. And go join the Patreon, patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. Get in there, get you some benefits, access to some other things that we do. We do the watch alongs. It's a big one. Get in the Discord, come hang out, chat with us about football, the other football, sports, everything.
Oh, gods.
Pirates.
Anything you want, even pirates.
Yes. So that being said, Saturday, 7:00. Whichever one of y'all want to dive in first, but what's the prediction?
Why don't you go first?
Because I'm the host asking the questions. That's not how we do.
Fine, I'll go first, unless Tommy wants to go first.
Fine. I'll be the negative Nancy to start this thing off. I think I originally said last week, pull the tape if you don't believe me, that I was predicting Atlanta to win game 2 and send it to game 3. However, with the injuries that have happened, you're really taking a Cinderella type game that you could win to making it even more Cinderella, right? I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. I think we score some goals, and I think that it's fun, but ultimately I think it's 4-2 at Miami.
That's not fun. What are you talking about?
Not at all.
High scoring?
Not at all.
No, I think it's 3-2, and they eventually just get the one that puts you away there.
I think Atlanta United will come out with their hair on fire because, again, it's the last match of the season in that building. You're going to make a good impression on your fans.
Could be.
Could be what?
Last match of the season in that building.
In the building. Well, it's gonna be. It's gonna be regardless because of the seating.
Is the Western Conference? I guess they are seated higher than Atlanta, aren't they?
Well, I mean, you're right. Points. I forgot. It's not off seating. It's points. So unless something crazy happens in more ways than one,
that'd be cool.
I'm
saying, don't give up. But you're probably...
don't give up. The only chance of Atlanta are the highest low seed, so they'll be on the road the rest of the way. No, that being said, it's like, again, it's the last match they'll play in that building until 2025. So that's going to have a lot of bearing on how they come out. And I think, like I said, they'll come out with their hair on fire. That being said, it'd be great to get it to penalties. I feel like penalties in this match will be good because, again, it kind of evens things out in your favor. That being said, I feel like Miami are the better team. I think Atlanta maybe makes it close. I do think Miami ultimately wins 3-1. I see Messi getting a goal, Suarez getting a goal, and then perhaps Campanas coming on late to ice it for Atlanta. I can see Miami going up 2-0, Atlanta make it 2-1 to make it a match again, but I think Miami ultimately ices it and sweeps Atlanta United out of the playoffs.
Well, y'all suck.
Oh, don't say like 3-0 Atlanta or something like that.
I wasn't going to.
You can say however you want it.
You can.
I'm joking. 2-1 Atlanta.
Maybe. I mean, I think we're all hoping for it for sure.
I think it's the most realistic win possibility besides going to penalties. I don't know. To your point, Sydney, I mean, I think, yeah, they come out with their hair on fire. I think seeing and talking to those players after the match, they're ready to get home and play this match in front of the Bens. You just got to hope that's enough. You have to hope that gives them enough momentum, and whatever magic they tapped into in Orlando and Montreal, however ugly it may have been, you got to hope they bring it. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can't go 3 for 3 on betting that Miami's going to win this game. So 2-1 Atlanta.
Yeah, like I said, like, yeah, it's the last match you'll play in that building.
If y'all are listening, just know that I believe in you.
Well, I believe in them too.
Says the guy who said 3-1. It's not unreasonable.
Sorry, everyone.
But
we'll see. If they get the penalties, I think they'll win. Atlanta. I've been wrong before. Multiple
We get
times.
dressing up for Halloween.
I don't know if I'm dressing up for Halloween, to be honest with you.
Are you going to be in Texas still?
I'll be coming home Thursday morning. So I don't think no
tomorrow?
Halloween costume for me. Yeah.
You said Thursday, and that confused me. I'm like, wait, today's Wednesday, right?
Today's Wednesday, Thursday, tomorrow. Yes, I'll be coming home tomorrow.
Okay.
So probably
just
no costume for me. Are you going as a killer clown from outer space?
I don't know what I'm going to be at. I got so many random masks around here, hockey jerseys or duck masks.
Jason.
We'll figure something out. Last Halloween, it was snowing here in Ohio, and I was packing because I was heading to Atlanta the next day for Game 2 versus Columbus.
And that worked out well.
Yeah.
It worked out real well.
So I'm not doing anything. I mean, I'm doing stuff. I'm not dressing up as anything. We got 4 kids to dress up, so
yeah,
we kind of get left out of it now.
Totally get it. Are you gonna do the
no watch along? I guess we'll just make sure that everyone knows we're not doing a watch along for this game here. Spaces will be after the game. I'll be probably watching the game in my car on the way back from Michigan. So if I miss a few minutes, then hopefully Jonathan or Bo in there to tell me what happened early on in the game. But yeah, it'll be hopefully not our last Spaces.
Real quick, are you guys doing the dad tax on the candy for the Halloween?
What's the dad tax?
You take whatever you want.
Take the candy
for
from
your
the
kids' candy, yeah.
I'm I'm scared of peanut butter. That's my thing. So they like all the peanut butter stuff. So sometimes they'll get the regular Hershey or the regular M&Ms, and I'll steal those away from them.
Yeah.
If Sour Patch Kids come into this house, or those cookies and cream Hershey bars,
yeah,
I'm taking them. They're mine immediately. To be fair, my kids are great, and they actually will say, "Hey, here." But I don't feel as guilty when I do it that way, or when they do it. But Sour Patch Kids, man, that is my jam.
Legit.
I will take a family 5-pound bag of those things and just go to town, man.
We don't recommend it, but
no, it's not.
We passed out Jello shots to like the adults in the neighborhood.
That's cool.
I'm glad you're passing out to adults, not kids.
Yeah, we've been the cool. we became the cool. Now that our kids don't want to go out with us anymore, and we trust them, the other neighbors come down, and now we hand out that, and I make this kind of moonshine type thing. It's not moonshine, but it's something I make, and I call it moose juice. It's got a bunch of cider, about 16 different liquors in it, cinnamon sticks in there. Let it rest.
Punch.
And
yeah,
what's
Hunch
that?
Punch. Hunch Punch.
No, that's like. That's more like fruity. This is cider. This is more cidery.
Okay. Do you steep it with the spices and all? I mean, I used cinnamon, but
yeah,
that's good.
It's good. It's good. It's dangerous.
Sounds like a good cold weather drink.
You don't taste the liquor in it at all, which is the problem.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're running around the house. You can't find your pants anywhere. Like that's what happens when you drink too much of that. So,
be careful.
So here in Atlanta, it's always too hot on Halloween to like. You never, because the day will be hot, and then by the time like everybody goes trick or treating, the temperature's starting to drop. So you're in that like, if I'm not in a costume, I'm in a t-shirt and I've got to change into a hoodie sometime in the middle of everybody doing stuff.
Right.
So we don't get to enjoy those kind of like cold drinks until at least the middle of November.
Yeah, it's 67 here right now. It's not bad at all.
Oh, that's actually
This is beautiful.
almost
Usually it
up
rains, and like I said last year, it snowed. It was like 30 and snow. So this is perfect weather.
well. That's the other thing down here. We've had no rain in this state all month.
Like the first time this ever happened since records were kept.
Literally no drops of rain. But that's also after a hurricane came through here and like flooded everything. So,
Right.
you know, give and take a little bit. But
yeah.
All right, guys. Like Tommy said, we will be back doing our normal stuff on Saturday. No watch along, but we'll have the pre-match show. We'll have the takeaways after, spaces after. Check the website. Articles will be going up, and hopefully we'll be talking about a game 3 and not the off season. But if we are talking about the off season, y'all be sure to check out the website because we're going to have tons and tons of content going up all through the off season. Trying to get you guys obviously updates on news, player ratings, like reviews, that types of thing. I mean, we'll be doing all kinds of stuff. So just because the season might be over, hopefully
we're not
done. Yeah, we're not done. So y'all keep an eye out. But with that, we will see y'all on Saturday. It has been fun. And now I want some Sour Patch Kids. Do y'all not like those Hershey's though? Like
which ones?
Those cookie.
Those are really good. Yeah, I love those.
Tommy,
I'm a big chocolate person in general.
Why are you so averse to happiness?
Or candy. I don't mind it, but
I'm not a big
lot.
peanut butter fan either, but I'm not like deathly afraid of peanut butter.
Right.
Chocolate milk is where I go. People are handing out little bags of chocolate milk.
That's sketchy.
Oh no, I drink it. I don't care what's in it. What? There's a clue in this? Sure, I'll drink it. Whatever.
Why is this a weird color?
Whatever. As long as there's chocolate and there's milk in it, I'm good.
Not to mention the 10 other ingredients that may or may not be in there. But hey, do what you got to do.
I like to party. Whatever.
Be a lit Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Sydney doesn't